WWE has a bad habit of starting storylines they don't intend to complete. That seems to be the case with a lot of what they're doing recently. Since they throw things against the wall hoping that it will stick, this has led to a lot of storylines that could have been avoided. Instead, they started it, and when it didn't get the traction they wanted, they abandoned it. Be it because they fired someone or changed their mind, WWE has had a lot of these cases over the last few years. This is Wrestling Up, and your storylines WWE dropped and pretended did not happen. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Up and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Elias formed an alliance with Jackson Ryker last December. However, after they lost, Elias turned on Ryker, with Ryker looking like a babyface. WWE went in a different direction with Ryker still acting heelish. He defeated Elias over the next few weeks and then defeated him in a strap match. Their feud eventually led to a Symphony of Destruction match in July on Raw where Ryker won. After this, Elias disappeared with vignettes starting to air weeks later showing him burning his guitar and claiming Elias was dead. Elias was one of the 3 main roster members who were not drafted, leaving questions as to where he was. Vince Russo found the entire segment with Elias questionable and said, "We saw another character get executed tonight with Elias. Bro, how many? To me, if I'm in WWE, this is very embarrassing. Chris, you and I can probably reel off 10 characters in the last 6 months that they have absolutely killed. Killed, bro. Elias was the latest one this week. It honestly felt like he was lost somewhere, and the others who were undrafted were Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik. While the latter two were released from the company soon after, Elias is still a part of WWE. When Lashley and MVP united, this led to Lashley being able to explore more serious storylines and even challenge for the title. They added members to this group, first Shelton Benjamin, then Cedric Alexander. The 4 would dominate, with Lashley winning the WWE Championship. However, there was dissension in the ranks, and the time came when Shelton and Cedric were proving to be an embarrassment to him, so they were thrown out of the faction. Fans were unhappy, as this has been one of the most powerful groups in the company. In the meantime, Alexander and Benjamin had a tag team run, followed by a feud between themselves. This September, they were reunited and helped Lashley fight New Day. They were drafted as a team to Raw, but since then they have not worked together, other than at Crown Jewel. After the storyline with Goldberg, they have started working separately, and it has become clear this is another angle WWE has forgotten. When she first appeared on WWE TV, Shayna Baszler seemed to have lost any sense of the character she had on NXT. During the build to WrestleMania, Shayna attacked Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, where she bit Becky's neck and made her bleed. She was shown licking her lips clean of Becky's blood. Her fans from NXT were terrified that she'd become a vampire. Given rumors of Vince McMahon not liking her, it seemed plausible. Soon after this, Baszler was gone from TV for 2 months and appeared by attacking Tozawa's ninjas for some reason. She didn't bite any of them and just became a dialed down version of herself. While it was not the treatment she deserved, at least she was not a vampire. Bray Wyatt created one of the most innovative personas in The Fiend. In the beginning, Wyatt's character in the Funhouse gimmick got so over with fans, but then following a stoppage in a Hell in a Cell match and a loss to Goldberg, the character was damaged. Later, Randy Orton would set fire to Wyatt, burning him alive in their Inferno match. For months after, Alexa Bliss would hint that Wyatt was not dead and that he would return while tormenting Orton. Everyone was waiting for Wyatt's comeback, and finally he confronted Randy at WrestleMania. He was then defeated by Orton, with Alexa turning on him. Fans were waiting to see why Bliss turned on him and what would happen next with Wyatt. But then in a Firefly Funhouse message, Wyatt said he would be back after rebuilding and then disappeared. He would never be seen in WWE again, as he was fired from the company in July. Raw Underground was a concept introduced by Shane McMahon. Taking a page out of MMA and Fight Club, WWE started to have wrestlers they were not using that much on the main roster appear and fight against each other. They did the one good thing of introducing Debacato, now known as Commander Aziz, but other than that, it did nothing good for anyone. After 4 weeks or so, it disappeared. It was simply there 1 week, and then the next it was gone. It felt like a fever dream. It ended up being an excellent concept that was completely and totally wasted by shoddy booking. When Aleister Black was a part of NXT, he was one of the most popular stars. In fact, after his feud with Velveteen Dream, both were elevated to new heights. He was clearly a favorite of Triple H, and he was soon given a run with the NXT title. On the main roster, it appeared WWE writers were unable to understand him. They were running out of places to put him, and he was out of action after a storyline injury he suffered against Rollins. When he was brought back, he had a new lease on life. He interrupted the Intercontinental title match, hitting Big E with a black mass when the referee was distracted. Black and Big E were supposed to enter a feud, but then Black got fired. The next week, Big E continued as if he had never been kicked. Otis and Mandy Rose's love story was one of the greatest angles that WWE managed to not take advantage of. The company did an excellent job in noticing that Otis was a very popular figure with fans. They decided to put him in a love story with Mandy Rose, and with Sonya Deville turning on Mandy and others trying to get in Otis's way, it was actually a lot of fun. Otis and Mandy together were very over, and the fans wanted more and more of them. They were united, and so then WWE decided the best way to deal with this was to split them. They put Otis on SmackDown and took Mandy to Raw. This was the end of the love story. Fans were supposed to forget that it had ever happened, and after a brief feud with The Miz, they went to a storyline where Otis was fighting with Tucker, but Mandy Rose was never mentioned again. That's something that makes no sense. Since then, both stars have completely changed their gimmicks and appearances. Rose is now part of NXT as the women's champion, while Otis is a part of Alpha Academy as a heel, having shaved off his beard. It's like WWE saw something they had which the fans loved, and something that had value, and decided they could not have that, so they split them apart and made sure to never mention it again. Talking about taking effort to make sure to not give fans what they want. WWE has had many strange angles, but few have been as odd and as cringeworthy as the one between Lashley, Lana, and Rusev. The three were in a love triangle, with Lana abandoning and divorcing her husband to marry Lashley after Lashley humiliated Rusev on a regular basis. This angle was left unexplained from two sides. Rusev and Lashley never really had the fight that would end the feud, as Rusev was released by the company. They pretended the angle happened, but Rusev did not exist. Another wrestler that received the same treatment minus the release was Liv Morgan. During the marriage between Lashley and Lana, she returned and revealed her feelings for Lana, saying they had been in a relationship. Till that time, neither Lana nor Liv's characters had been written as lesbian or bisexual, but all of a sudden WWE added that to the mix. The storyline was never picked up, and Liv and Lana never had a feud, with Liv disappearing from the storyline altogether a couple weeks later. Kalisto, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado, while they didn't do much as Lucha House Party, were entertaining. They were put together, and for 2.5 years, the three managed to rally fans. As such, they were a great babyface team. Unfortunately, Kalisto had a shoulder injury in 2020, with Metalik and Dorado carrying on. The two had good runs competing for the Intercontinental and SmackDown Tag Team title. They were looking convincing as a team. After Kalisto's return, the team was supposed to be stronger than ever. Somehow, that was not the case. Kalisto and Dorado bickered and started to push each other away. It was looking like the classic story of a faction breaking up, which could have led to a rather interesting angle where Kalisto and Dorado had a feud, with Gran Metalik being stuck in the middle. WWE decided to let that tension between them go away, and they never really battled. 2 weeks later, the two were split up in the draft, and Kalisto remained on SmackDown while the other two went to Raw. It was an anticlimactic end to a feud that had the potential to push at least one of them to the upper echelons of WWE. Now all three have been released, with it being clear WWE could do nothing with them after all. Miz and Morrison are two of the most entertaining stars. Morrison worked well with Miz, and they were a good young heel tag team. In their initial run, they achieved a lot. Eventually, they broke away from each other, with Miz finding success and carving out a permanent spot for himself as a cowardly heel, while Morrison, after a lackluster face run, left WWE and tried his luck elsewhere. When WWE brought him back and signed him at the 2020 Royal Rumble, it was a huge moment. Even though he was eliminated by Lesnar, fans were excited to see what he would do. He was put together with Miz, and the two became a comedic heel duo. While they did an excellent job working together, it was clear Morrison was being wasted. Finally, WWE appeared to get him ready for a face turn. They had Miz turn on and attack him. Morrison was taken out and upset with the betrayal of his best friend. Then swore vengeance. They teased the feud, and then Miz disappeared. He was going to be on Dancing with the Stars, and suddenly Morrison was left with an incomplete feud. He was given a new gimmick of being someone looking for peace. Before he was taken off TV, he was a part of the European tour when his wife was let go. Then when he returned, WWE fired him as well. And these were recent storylines WWE dropped, and pretend it didn't happen. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.